Hello, everybody. It's Friday and it's September 3rd, 2021. And I'm here with my Fridays with Father Reach Out, and happy to be here. Nice cooler weather. More about that a bit later. This past week, I had a couple of important meetings, I thought, and one of them was a meeting with our parish pastoral council. And we're in a process of, if you like, reviving, reforming, rebooting. I know that many of you out there don't even know of the existence of such a council or what it does and its purpose. And so together with the members, the existing members and a couple of new members that I've added, we are going through a process little by little. We're meeting monthly through which we'll become formed and having a vision and understanding of what we're doing, and to put at the service of the parish and its renewal, especially as we move into our Jubilee year and the next 50 years. So I met with them, and one of the things that we did is not ice-breaking thing, but part of the conversational pieces, especially at the end of our meeting this week. I said to people, as none of us really know each other that very well around the table, let's tell everybody something about yourself, that the others don't know. Let's just share with everybody at the table something the other people don't know. And so we had all sorts of things, people who played musical instruments, or people that traveled here or traveled there. And mine was, my favorite flavor of ice cream is pistachio. So it was kind of a good way just to sort of to know something fairly ordinary about other people that we would not otherwise know. And so as I begin this kind of like reach out today with Fridays with Father, I want to share with you something that almost exclusively, none of you out there will know, not even the PPC members, so that they won't know about me. And it's only relevant just because of what happened yesterday. But I am a lifelong fan of the music group from the 1970s called ABBA. You may know them, you may not know them. They were a Swedish supergroup, and their songs are enduring, just regular pop music. And from the age of 9 or so, I became kind of enamored with ABBA and all of their music. And so you don't know that about me, but now you do. So even when in school, people would laugh at me because I liked their music so much, because it wasn't fashionable or trendy at the time to like them. It certainly wasn't cool. And I was never a cool person. But I always liked ABBA, and people used to make fun of it. But more than 40 years later, people are still very, humming their tunes and very fond of this music group throughout the world, And so anyways, the reason why I mention that is that yesterday this Swedish supergroup announced after like 40 years that they were like, if you want, they're making a comeback, And so said this big press conference, and it was all over the news, and they got a couple of new songs, and they're having a new album, and there's going to be this virtual concert which they're working on. So it's all very exciting for people like me and for others throughout the world who are big fans of ABBA, you see. In some ways it makes you feel young again, it kind of takes you back to when you were 10-year-old, and the excitement about that. And it made me quite emotional to see these people who are now in their 70s, still making music and still making people happy. And I think that's what they did, and they have done throughout my life, is they make me happy with their music. So I share that with you. I confess it with you that I'm a lifelong devoted fan of the Swedish supergroup ABBA, and so they're making a comeback. So and I just pondered that today as I was saying my prayers, about comebacks and people, we celebrate comebacks, when people disappear, whether it's like sports players, or actors or singers. They disappear for a while from our stratosphere, and then they come up with something new, and it's talked about as a comeback, and it provides us with a little bit of excitement for a short period of time anyway, but again, it just brought into relief for me, I suppose, the impermanence of our life, of our existence, and everything that we do, and how nothing really lasts, and the only thing that really lasts is our faith. It's only Jesus that is permanent in our lives, in our world. Jesus has never gone away, for example, so as that he needed to make a comeback. Jesus has always been here, and is always with us. And I think that kind of permanence in our life is something that we need. And I think we kind of look for it in other people, and we try to project it sometimes onto, actors or singers or artists, because in some ways, through their creativity, they kind of, what's the word I'm thinking of? They kind of like sample eternity for us, or they point us to something which is beyond, when something is so beautiful, and it speaks to us at a very deep level, and we kind of cling to it, and whether that's the music of ABBA or whatever else, or some composer, or some art piece, or somebody's interpretation, dramatic interpretation, we kind of cling to that, But what we're really reaching out for, you see, I think, is we're really reaching out for that permanence which goes beyond the world, which we can't quite attain. But in our soul, that's what we're reaching for. So, when we're kind of like fanatically enamored of a music group or whatever it might be, or a sports player, we're enamored really of those values which point us towards something which is permanent. And it just came to me again. I thought that it's only Jesus that's permanent. It's only Jesus that's permanent in my life, and I'm so, so grateful for that, really. So grateful to think that Jesus is always there and always will be there. And we have that permanent proof and reminder in the Eucharist, the celebration of the Mass, the consecrated bread and wine, the permanence of Jesus in the Eucharist. And Jesus remains present with us, every day in our parish here. So what I mean by all of that is that we cling to things looking for the sense of permanence, the sense of eternity, the sense of beauty and transcendence, but it's only Jesus himself that can provide that for us, and it just fills me with great gratitude and knowledge and joy for that, which points me to the prayer chapel which we opened here in the Kane Centre some weeks ago, and it's open Monday to Friday 9 till 7. People are coming. People come to spend time with Jesus, and again, people come because he's the only permanent fixed thing in their life. Everything else is arbitrary, up for grabs, can change with the weather, but he's there. And so when we need, in some ways, that reassurance, when we need to touch, really, that which, we cannot find in anything else, when we, to be in his presence, people can come to the prayer chapel. And so I'm delighted to know that, people here at the Church of the Holy Spirit have that need to come and pray, have that need to come and spend time with Jesus. And I'm glad that we have the chapel open to them, and I don't know. Somebody asked me the other day, said, well, how many people are coming every day? Thousands? Well, I don't know, I said. And of course, it's certainly not thousands. Well, at least not yet. But no, it's only a small chapel. But, but people are regularly coming because they no longer have to go and get a key from the office to open up the church building, etc. So they're coming. But and every now and again, you see, I from the corner of my eye, I see people going in through the door or leaving and what have you. And on an average day, I'm just in the moments when I see this happening, at least a dozen people, just in those moments that I see people come and go, and I'm not there, watching fixedly, day in, day out. But the times when I see this happening, I'd say maybe on an average day is like a dozen people, 12 people, who are coming to be with Jesus, who is the permanent fixture of their life. And he's the permanent fixture of our heart. And by being with him, our heart is enriched. So Jesus in the Eucharist, permanent. So, and tonight in our holy hour, we'll be doing the same thing. We come to be before the one who never needs to make a comeback. He's always here. So our holy hour this evening at 6:30, little plug, for those who can make it. And if not, you can submit your petitions online, and they will be raised in prayer with the whole community gathered before Jesus this evening. So there you are. That's my little plug for that. And in light of of the ABBA comeback, and Jesus not needing to make a comeback. Okay, and so holy hour this evening. Today is the 3rd of September, and it's a feast day. I know. Did you realize we have so many feast days, so many saints to celebrate in the life of the church, and a lot of them are optionals. These are kind of the saints that, like today, the ones I talk about are the ones which we are obligated, or we have to celebrate. And so today is the feast of Saint Gregory the Great, or Pope Gregory the Great. Sort of one of the early popes, and great really for the great things that he did. He came from a kind of wealthy Roman family, with lots of land in Sicily and places like that, and he was a smart, intelligent man who was really very much a diplomat. He became the prefect of Rome at an early age, and then from there, I think he just felt called to service. It was, he was a Catholic, Christian, kind of believer, and he just felt called to service. And when his dad died, and he was left all his money, the big villa belonging to the family in Sicily, he had converted into a monastery. Yeah, and he became a monk, and he lived a monastic life. Imagine that, turning your home into a monastery. It's a big change, right? Big radical change, but that's what, faith can do to you. That's what it does to you. It makes you change, whether it's small and incremental or radical and big. And in Pope St. Gregory's case, it was certainly radical and big. He had to contend with lots of different issues during his time as Pope, the plague, attacks on Rome, all those kinds of things. But one of the things which is attributed to him is certainly that, the Anglo-Saxons which invaded England, really, they were pagan. But the Anglo-Saxons, over a period of time, they converted to Christianity. And that is attributed to Gregory the Great, because he sent St. Augustine of Canterbury to preach to them. But it was the instrumental work of St. Pope the Gregory the Great that the Anglo-Saxons in Britain became Christians. And a lot of you are of Anglo-Saxon blood. I'm not. Well, I don't think I am. I need to do ancestry.org to find out. But I'm a Celt, I think. But Anglo-Saxons, the Christianity is in the blood of Anglo-Saxon people because of Pope St. Gregory the Great. Okay, he was also a great lover of the poor, and every meal that he sat down to while he was Pope, he invited the poor to his table. And he invited his priests to do the same. And if they didn't, he would move the priests. So we've a lot to learn. Even in this day and age, we've a lot to learn. He used to say, one of his little key phrases was, don't be anxious about what you have, but be anxious about who you are. Who are you? Be anxious about the kind of person that you are. Am I kind? Am I, good to other people? Do I reach out to people who are in need? Or do I just take care of myself? So do not be anxious about about what you have, but be more anxious about who you are. All of these little phrases we get from saints and the like, they're all kind of like paraphrasing or repeating what kind of Jesus says, Do not worry about, what you're going to eat tomorrow or that kind of stuff. But don't worry about what you have, but worry about who you are. And so it's important that we know that we are followers of Jesus and we are part of his church, and we are called to live that right here and right now. So Pope St. Gregory the Great. The other final thing to mention about him, which he was famous really. Now, you're all used to listening to what you would call like chant music, monastic music, monks singing, that kind of like haunting Latin chant, which is, very much a Catholic thing, but it's crept into popular culture as well, and it's very difficult to sing, and it takes a certain discipline, Well, that is attributed to Pope St. Gregory the Great. He reformed the liturgy, or the celebration of Mass, and as we know it now, and one of the things he did was to introduce kind of appropriate singing of the parts of the Mass, like the Sanctus and what have you, and the antiphons, and through this very specific way of singing, this kind of, what they call nowadays as plain chant, or more appropriately, they would call it Gregorian chant. Gregorian after Pope St. Gregory. So there you are. He was a big reformer of the liturgy, and all of those monks that you see here singing famously, or you imagine monks to be singing, that is Pope St. Gregory the Great. Plain chant, Gregorian chant. The other thing he did with the liturgy, more specifically, was the part of the Mass where we say the Our Father, the Lord's Prayer, just at the end of the Eucharistic prayer. He put it there. I think it was before then, in the Mass, but he put it there at the end of the Eucharistic prayer and as part of the rite of communion before we receive communion. But that was moved there by him. There you are. He did lots of good things, and so we honor St. Gregory the Great today in our prayers, and as we did at Mass, or at least Father George Kane did at Mass here today, in lieu of me. But a nice little phrase to remember: do not be anxious about what you have, but be anxious about who you are. Okay, so that's St. Pope the Gregory the Great. Finally, as I'm coming to the end of my coffee, I wanted to give you a little update about Jonah. Jonah, do you want to come here? You want to come and say hello? I know, he has been on the floor here. Here's Jonah. Hello. There's Jonah. Anyway, as you know, I told you last week that he'd had a bit of a cough, and so I was a bit worried and concerned, and I took him to the vet, and it wasn't an infection viral, and there was nothing wrong with his x-rays. But 4 years ago, Jonah was diagnosed with a heart murmur. Yeah, it's kind of like the beginning of heart disease, really. And so the vet wanted to have him have another look at his heart and see what was going on, because if it was like the onset of heart failure, then he would have to go on sort of permanent medication, for the rest of his life, just to try and delay the onset of the heart disease and heart failure. So anyway, I think it was Wednesday, he spent a large part of the day at the vet, and I sat outside worrying about him. And he had his echocardiogram, and he was very nervous about going, but he was fine once he was in there, and so the vet spoke to me yesterday and sort of said, that he, the cause of the cough isn't his heart. At least it's not obviously the case. And his heart is not failing at this time, but his heart is enlarged, and it's only going to get worse. So they want to recommend to me that they put him on a medication to try and sort of delay that from happening. And they were very good and explained everything, and they sent me the report and I don't understand most of it, but they want to put him on a medication to delay that. So I said, I'll think about it, and I'll get back to them, and I probably will start him on his medication. But poor guy, he's fine in and of himself, and the fact of the matter is, since I took him to the vet for his cough, he stopped coughing. Well, at least today there's been no cough at all. It's become less and less, and there's just like no coughing today. So maybe it was that heavy, humid weather we had this last couple of weeks that was starting to affect him, you know, like it affected all of us. So I think that, I'm happy that his cough is gone, and he's fine in and of himself, but I suppose the reality is he's getting older. That's what the vet said. He's going to be 11 now in October. And as we all know, with age, we all have something, and we all end up taking medication, right? We all end up taking tablets. I've been taking cholesterol medication since I was like 40, and sort of acid reflux medication since I was 35 or so. So we all have something, right? And it doesn't mean to say it's the end of our life, but it's just a sign that our bodies, are not perfect and they're not going to last forever. But so with Jonah, I have to make that decision about putting on this medication. I'm sure it's the right thing to do, but if you've got any tips, let me know. But so anyway, that's an update on Jonah. But he's fine, he's doing okay, and he's here with me right now. And just finally, just to sort of say before I sign off, that this will be the last Fridays with Father for 2 weeks. I'm taking some time off. I need a bit of a vacation time because I've not really taken enough time in recent years. So I'm taking a bit of time off. So there'll be 2 Fridays when there'll be no Fridays with Father. I'll leave you in peace. And then when I come back, if you want me to continue, then I'll continue doing that. But right now, I just need to get a bit of downtime. I've been doing all these Fridays with Father, like, ever since I arrived, every Friday, even when I've been like away visiting my parents. So, and I'm running out of things to say, maybe. All right. So I will bid you farewell for now. But I'll be back in the parish in 10 days' time. In the meantime, pray for me and I'll pray for you. Be joyful. Keep the faith. Take care.